Today on This Is Jax, I'm sitting down with Kevin Montisano. He is the owner-operator of HouseBright Exterior Cleaning. They do pressure washing, paver sealing, really cool company, and they've got some new stuff coming this year, like Christmas lights. So I can't wait to get into that. Hear his story, how he just moved to Jacksonville in 2016, but already has gone from tennis pro to owning a business here in Jacksonville and seeing growth from one truck to a fleet of 3 now. So join me on This Is Jax. Thanks for listening. If it's your first time, go ahead and subscribe and turn on your notifications. Welcome to This Is Jax, a hyper-local podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to bring on successful business owners, the people who drive the cities, share a lot about what makes our city so great. So you can be confident and comfortable. This is a city that you want to call home. All right, Kevin, welcome to This Is Jax, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Not a problem, man. Thanks for having me.
Dude, I'm excited. We've known each other for a little bit of time. We got some mutual connections, of course, and finally able to connect on this. I know it was from the start of this, you were somebody I wanted to have on here. I wanted to kind of hear your story. It's fascinating to me. I've seen your company grow from like one plain truck to now you got like a fleet of trucks.
Yeah, we've got 3 now. So.
You know, yeah. So, okay, we'll dive into that. But, man, there's some exciting backstory to Kevin, right? And I want to get into that and I want to hear it. So you got to Jacksonville in 2016, right? And you came from Wichita.
Right, yeah.
All right, so what led up, let's kind of do like a quick little, what led up to that point? Where were you at that point in your life that made you choose, like what brought you to Jacksonville?
Yeah, so I was living in Wichita, Kansas. I was actually coaching tennis at Wichita State there in Wichita. So, I had a bunch of family that lived here in Jacksonville. My 2 older brothers lived here in Jacksonville.
Okay.
So, they started kind of having their family, going. So decided, hey, just want to get closer to family. And, I've been to Jacksonville a few times visiting on Christmas and things like that. And just, always loved Jacksonville, just, obvious reasons.
Sure.
Just decided to kind of, pull the trigger and, left Wichita and moved down here to Jacksonville. I was able to get a job at one of the local tennis clubs. Kind of transitioned from, the college tennis to the club tennis. And I was working there for a few years before we started HouseBright.
Okay. So you were an assistant. You were an assistant coach at Wichita.
Correct. Yeah.
What were you doing? What led you to become a coach? Did you play tennis competitively growing up?
Yeah, so I just kind of grew up, playing in high school. I played at a junior college, transferred to Wichita State, and actually just kind of started there as the equipment manager and just, loved the sport, loved being around it, just trying to soak everything I could up. Just watching all the practices and things like that. I always knew I wanted to do something with coaching.
Yeah.
So I just thought that would be a good opportunity to kind of get in there and kind of see how, the best do it, and learn from the best. And
sure.
I was able to just kind of, sit off to the side and soak it all in. And went from, just being the equipment manager to getting hired as, the full-time assistant. And then, I was there for about, 3 years. Then I left for a year and then came back for another 3. So total of 6 years being the assistant coach.
Okay. That's a pretty good amount of time. 6 years. I mean, that's a whole career for some people.
Right. Yeah.
Stage of their life. And then from there, when you first came to Jacksonville, you were coach or you were manager. What roles were you playing then at the local country clubs?
Yeah. So after my time in Wichita, I moved to Jacksonville and I was the head tennis pro at Marsh for a few years.
Okay.
So just, going there, I was, head of their junior program, worked with that, the kids there, had a couple of the ladies leagues and things like that. So, which actually, helped out with the pressure washing company because, those are the first people that, we really kind of got into and, started cleaning their homes for them. Just, all those, relationships that we, built prior, to starting the company. So, just kind of learn everything. And those was my first ladies that we got in there and start cleaning all their houses and really kind of was a blessing in disguise. Yeah.
Can we expand on that a little bit? How did you go from, and you just explained sort of part of the transition,
right.
The client overlap, but aside from the client overlap, like how did you go from being a tennis pro to owner operator of a company and then not just a company, but a pressure washing company? What got you into that?
Yeah. So, it was kind of crazy. So, one of my roommates at the time, Kurt Stein, who you've actually had on the show, he was doing his thing with his home inspection company.
Yeah.
And this, approached me one day. It was like, hey, man, I see a lot of opportunity here, doing this pressure washing. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? And then I was just kind of, thinking about it for a little while. Just kind of, ran through the, the positives and negatives and things like that of, just completely, transitioning to a different, profession. And I said, what the heck, I'm still pretty young. If there's a time to take a risk, this is probably the time to do it. So decided, hey, let's just kind of jump full into this and kind of see what happens. I always just felt like if things went crazy with this or didn't work out, I could always lean back, fall back on the tennis.
Yeah, you have skill sets.
Exactly. So, it wasn't that drastic or that, scary. But yeah, just decided, hey, what, I'm just gonna take a leap of faith and see what happens. And that was about 5 years ago, and we're still going strong. So
compared to a normal 9-to-5 job, do you think that something to do like a tennis pro, is that closer to entrepreneurial type job versus, a job where you just like clock in and clock out? What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. Because you're trying to book your own lessons, you're talking with people, you're building relationships. So it's not like, you just show up and the lessons are there. You got to go out, you got to network. You
got to earn it.
Exactly. You got to, talk with people and, show them your worth and things like that. And, that's how, you try to get your lessons and, keep your schedule booked.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I haven't really thought about that too deeply. And I think you're one of the first guests that's been on the show who kind of comes from the sports world and then into entrepreneurial business world. So it's cool to hear that. And it does kind of get the wheels turning a little bit to kind of associate the two. And I bet most people, the average listener or most of the people out there that we run into in the world wouldn't even kind of put those two together, right?
Yeah. Sure.
But hearing you tell that story, it definitely makes sense. You talked a little bit about HouseBright. How did you end up coming? Did you incur or did you come up with it on your own? Were you brainstorming the names? What was it that kind of landed you on your logos, everything else to kind of get it started?
Yeah, I think Kurt and I just got together, had a couple of meetings and we were just kind of brainstorming. I can't exactly remember how it came up, but I think, someone said HouseBright, and I think it just kind of clicked, and we just kind of thought about that. And we're like, oh, that actually sounds pretty good. And we just, stuck with that, and yeah, here we are.
So aside from, so once you got it going, and then you said you had, maybe some of your first customers were people who were your tennis pro. How did you manage that overlap time period?
Just basically learning, all the ins and outs of the industry, just trying to figure out, how to build the truck. The trucks, there's, so much going on the trucks. So yeah, basically just, figuring out how everything works, how to do everything. And then, just trying to, put it to work and, making sure we can clean these houses effectively and, make sure that there's no damage and things like that. Cause, when you're using bleach and stuff like that, things can happen.
Yeah.
So basically, in between that time, just really just trying to get our methods down and just making sure, we're doing everything on point, and that way, we can get everything, as best as possible and, do it that way.
Okay. That's pretty neat. That's fascinating. Those trucks, and I've seen your trucks, and I thought they were pretty cool. I think the first place we went, we were at like one of these poker tournaments
yeah.
That we go to once in a while. And you were like washing the cards or whatever. And I came out. No, I did like a little video on Instagram or something.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was probably, how long ago do you think that was? 2018?
I was going to say, maybe at least 3-4 years ago. So
yeah,
that was
probably 6 years ago.
Yeah. I was going to say, well, we started in, I think 2019. So
okay.
it was
probably right then.
Yeah, it's probably, late 2019.
Because I don't even know if the truck was like wrapped, right? Was it wrapped
I think
right
at the
beginning?
Yeah, I think the first one was. Okay. We got that one pretty quick. But yeah, that was pretty much, the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first few months of kind of, getting the business up and going.
For a listener out there who's thinking about transitioning in the workforce from working at a company, maybe corporate job or some type of job, and then they're looking to get into entrepreneurial, but they might be kind of nervous about repercussions, right? If their employer found out something like that. Was the club supportive of you kind of doing both, or did you kind of have to like be careful having customers in both worlds?
I don't think so, because there wasn't really a conflict of interest there. There's tennis and there's, pressure washing. So, while I was still working with, the tennis, the tennis clubs, I wasn't really, talking to people about that. It was still very, in pretty much in its infancy. So like, we weren't really washing houses at that time. So like, after I pretty much decided, hey, I'm just going to go, full into this, I told my club that, hey, I'm going to look for other opportunities. And then, quit that. And then, pretty much, worked, 2-3 months of just kind of getting everything together, building everything up, and then, taking it live. So, there wasn't really anything
smooth
like that.
Transition.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, I knew a bunch of people like on my Facebook and things like that. And just sent a ton of, messages out saying, hey, this is my new company. I think we did like a half off, special or something like that for friends and family, just to kind of, get our feet wet and things like that. And then, it worked out great. We had tons of people, call us and take advantage of that. And like I said, I pretty much, went from learning everything on YouTube and, online, and, I was, cleaning, multi-million-dollar mansions. Pretty much right off the bat. So
aside from the relationships you already had, what role did Jacksonville have in the growth of your business initially?
The cool thing about, just being in Jacksonville was just, having those relationships that I kind of previous built with, all the different tennis clubs. And that was kind of the best part, because, we would go and we clean those houses, and then, word of mouth kind of got out, and then we'd, clean their neighbor's house and clean their neighbor's house. And, before we knew it, we were cleaning, 10 houses on, one block. So, that was probably, one of the cool things. And, just, everyone here in Jacksonville has just, always been very cool, very welcoming. So I just kind of love the vibe. So
organic growth.
Right.
Yeah. Is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
When you're saying that. And, maybe that speaks to the nature of, most of the locals here in Jacksonville, or at least the people who are local at this time in their life, whether they grew up here or whether they came here seeking for that.
Yeah, for sure.
I see the same thing. Definitely an environment that's supportive for business. Sorry. Definitely an environment supportive for business. So, okay. Well, what challenges, maybe in that growth process, you started with the one truck, you kind of do that. What stage did you get to where you officially were like, I'm done with tennis completely, and I'm just, doing the pressure washing?
Yeah. So I was still doing like, some private stuff, here and there. Working very minimum hours, with that just kind of on the side. Just because I love doing it. It wasn't because I need to stay busy or anything like that. I was plenty busy, with the pressure washing, but there's a few people, some of the juniors that I work with, their parents reached out and said, hey, on the weekend, can you do this for an hour? So, there were still a few little things I was doing here and there. But yeah, we got to the point where I'm spending most of the time out there, either, on the truck cleaning or, or working on, trying to, find some leads and things like that. So, I would say, there wasn't much time. There was kind of that, both going on, and I pretty much fully transitioned to the whole, with the pressure washing HouseBright, probably a couple months, into it.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then from that stage to today, where you have 3 trucks, that you touched on that, how have you seen, has it just been like a steady growth, or did it take like, a couple years and then all of a sudden it was like, we went from 1 to 2 instantly, or how did that growth look?
I think we got our second truck fairly quick. I think it was about a year into it or so. We just been keeping, those 2 trucks busy, for a while. And then, we decided to get that third truck. But basically, we just kind of keep going in and, keep growing and just kind of expanding and trying to do whatever we can to keep this thing going. Yeah.
And you've definitely added more. We talked on the phone last week, about the paver sealing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Which is different. And I think a few years ago you were just doing, your soft wash, pressure wash, and now you've added that. So that's a great service. What's in the future for HouseBright? What do you see?
We stay pretty busy with all the services we have right now. I think, I can't remember, we're up to like 10 or 11. We pretty much do anything, from roof washes to house washes, windows, all that stuff. Paver sanding and sealing is pretty much the last thing that we've added.
Okay.
We are doing Christmas lights this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, that's probably the extra, add on that we've done. But yeah, besides that stuff, we're pretty content with what we're doing right now. We're just trying to master all the, the services that we have right now. And it keeps us pretty busy.
Christmas lights is
huge.
It's a huge industry.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. And
I feel
really
like it's
blowing up now.
Yeah. Right. It was like a secret industry.
Right. Yeah.
Well, bang. Now it's just a big deal when you think about it. Like, you kind of don't are you just trying to do residential or commercial?
So this will be our first year that we're really kind of diving into it. Okay. I've done a few last year to kind of get my feet wet. But yeah, this year we're really going to kind of dive into it. And the great thing about it is I'm a Christmas baby. I was born, on the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas. So I love the holidays. I love the whole thing, so I like getting up there and usually have some Christmas music or something like that, putting the lights up and just kind of getting the whole
can make some fun content.
Yeah,
whatever
for
it is.
For sure. So
That's really cool. I would say residential wise, it would be something that makes sense, exists, but I never really thought about it. Commercial, it definitely makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't think about that ever. Like you go to these places and it's like, if they're not having somebody like you that they outsource and hire, then if it's a restaurant, say they're making their waitresses or somebody who's not an expert in that field and now they're paying them instead of on floor time. So it makes more sense to bring in a company like yourself and get it done professionally, get it done right. And so that's pretty cool thing, man. I was thinking about something else that I wanted to ask you, but then we were talking about the Christmas lights. And so it wasn't in my notes. It was something that came up and now I'm like, oh man, I'm so bummed that I can't remember it.
Maybe it'll come back.
Yeah, it might come back. So, geez. Let me see here. It's okay if we pause for a second. We can edit it out or we can leave it in. It's an organic conversation. Okay. So as far as like in the city, I know you're doing some other things. Obviously HouseBright's your main thing, but you're still active in sports now, right? Yeah. So we were just talking. So pickleball is a huge thing.
Pickleball. Yeah. It's growing like wildfire.
Yeah. Like 2 years ago, it didn't exist or what, how did it give us a little bit? I am not a pickleball. Yeah. I don't know if my listeners are big pickleball fans or not, but if they're anything like me,
a few out there.
Yeah. I've never played. I have no clue. Everybody's like, you got to play. And I'm like, I'm pretty busy, but, looks fun. And I know a lot of people do it at a real casual level, but you're like playing in tournaments and stuff.
Yeah. So I actually played a 5-0 tournament last night in Orlando.
Yeah.
Ended up taking third place. So I was pretty pumped up about that. So yeah, it was my second time ever playing 5-0. So it's a different beast. I mean, that's a pretty tough level right there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was fun. I'm a competitor, I just love getting out there. I love grinding, and I pretty much, I've always been doing something, whether it's, in high school with sports, college with sports, and pretty much everything I've done has been, sports wise until I started HouseBright. Yeah. So kind of got that competitive nature in me and just, love staying active, love being on the court. But yeah, I started playing about 2 years ago. And then, like I said, I kind of had that whole tennis background.
Yeah.
And, pretty much ever picked up a, pickleball paddle. I haven't really played tennis at all. So, it just a lot more exciting for me to play, and it's cool because, with tennis, I feel like, for me to go out and just kind of hit with anyone would be like a little bit tough just because, when people hit with topspin and things like that, it makes quite a bit of a difference. I mean, that ball's hitting, kind of moving on you a little bit. So
right.
It's hard just to rally with anybody. Pickleball, it's a lot easier on it. I mean, I can go out with, pretty much anybody and go hit and have a good time. Okay. And, have some fun. So
that's a fascinating
for sure. So it's
aspect of it.
Yeah. It's like, and I've met so many cool people, throughout, the last couple of years, with pickleball and it's been a lot of fun.
So as a business owner and then somebody who's basically playing at a competitive level for a sport, how are you managing your time? Do you sleep or are you just going full speed?
Sleep is very important. So, I try to take care of myself. I'm not as young as I used to be. So, I definitely, take my time with stretching, eating well, trying to sleep right. But yeah, you just got to kind of juggle those things, and do your best. I play a lot of times, in the evening and things like that. So, just try to manage it as best I can. But yeah, it's tough. You got to basically, anytime I'm training for a tournament, that week, I'm pretty much mapping the week out, finding time to stretch, finding time to make sure, I get a couple of hits in and things like that. But also, I got to run the business and make sure, we're making money. So it's definitely a little bit of a juggling act, but, just got to organize it and just make sure, planning things. And
so the interesting thing about that, like running your own business, it's why you do your own business so that you have time to do that.
For sure.
But often running your own business takes more time than most people expect, right? So you're kind of in this balancing act of like, okay, I need to have my free time and then my rest, my free time, and then also playing and that. Cool. That's pretty impressive, Kevin. I see your stuff on social media and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I had no idea,
Yeah.
So I like to see that. I remember what I was thinking about. We were talking when I said the word residential, that's what I started thinking about. Obviously we do residential real estate and we were still talking about HouseBright at the time, but, I think your services are so important for people who are looking to make a move, get their house ready to go on the market, right? We kind of can control these. There's location, there's price, and then condition. And condition's the one that maybe the seller has the biggest control over. Yeah. The others, the market affects them a little bit more. But, you recommend going in and getting your house clean. So what services at a minimum do you think are the best services that you guys offer for somebody who's like, hey, I just got to get this place ready to go?
Honestly, pretty much anything like exterior wise. One of the most important things is curb appeal. No one wants to, drive up to a house and it all, be dirty and things like that. Right. So, like I said, we do anything, from the roof to the driveway to the house. And a lot of people don't understand is like when mold and algae and things like that are growing on like, the walls and stuff like that. It can actually start eating at, the surface. Yeah. And can etch the surface and things like that. There's times where, we've cleaned a house and you can tell where the algae was just because, it started eating at the, the paint and the surface and things like that. So
even on like brick or stone, especially, right? Yeah. It's just right into it.
It stays, that mildew stays there long enough. It's going to start eating at, whatever surface it's on. So, extremely important to make sure, you're taking those, taking that stuff off and make sure everything's nice and clean and, all that.
So, I definitely agree with you. So now that you've been here in Jacksonville for quite a bit of time and you've got a lot of experience in a lot of different cities, what do you think is different that maybe like, we talked a lot about work, but off work, things you like to do here, things that the community is a part of? What are some experiences here that you think are unique to our city or would be a reason for someone to make a move here?
Yeah. Jacksonville is awesome. It just feels like there's just so many different things to do. You got the whole beach vibe, that's a whole thing in itself. You've got the downtown area, you got Riverside. There's, pretty much anything you want to do, you can go, experience, right. In pretty much the same day. So, love just kind of, being able to go out and just kind of picking, and choosing, what you want to do. You got the Jags, so, tons of stuff to do. So,
I've said something similar, especially you touched on the beach. Like it is true. You could be at the beach, then it's like you come over the intercoastal and then you're not at the beach anymore. And then you can get towards downtown and then you've got the historic districts, Riverside, San Marco, all that kind of area. But then if you just keep going a little bit west, you're like in the country somehow. Right. Right. Yeah. And it's not that far. You can get to Orlando where the theme parks are or like where you had a competition last night, right. But you don't live in the center of like our city is not a tourist city compared to, Tampa, Miami, Orlando, right? It may soon become a little bit more as we were talking about the growth of our city. Yeah. And as the Jaguars become more popular, as the name gets more known, it wouldn't hurt to get a little bit more tourism here, boost the economy and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think it's definitely that. What are some hidden gems here that you would recommend to somebody to go check out?
I always lived out at the beach for a while. So, just any part down at the beach, was really cool. Yeah. I'm a racket guy, so I always played ping pong and things like that. So there's a couple cool places down in, Atlantic Beach and things like that. We went and, played some ping pong and, there's really not a bad place to go, down at the beach. So, things like that.
Okay. If you could change, if there was one thing, if you had the power to change one thing, make it better, what do you think it would be?
That's a good question. I know the whole like downtown, they're trying to, rejuvenate that. So, I think, probably on par with that, just, kind of get more things down there to do, make it a little more, family friendly and stuff like that. But I know they're doing a lot of things, with the stadium and like the Four Seasons, things like that. So I'm really excited to kind of see, when all that's done and, get down there and, enjoy all that stuff.
So excited to see the growth and development out there. So if anything else, like it's kind of like how I feel about it. It's like, there's not much that I would necessarily change, but the changes that they say are coming, you're like, don't mess them up. Right, do it right.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
Cause it's all good news. So you're like,
exactly.
I just get to sit back and enjoy it, enjoy my leisure and my work here in this city. So, hey, Kevin, thanks for coming on today and talking a little bit about your business and how you got to Jacksonville and just sharing your overall life experience here with us. If somebody's looking to get a hold of you, they need to get some pressure washing done at their house. What's the quickest way to get in contact with you guys?
You can find us online at housebrightjax.com or give us a call, text 904-990-8886. And we'll be happy to take care of whatever you guys need.
Okay, awesome. All right, Kevin, thanks so much. Awesome. Thanks for listening to This Is Jax.
Awesome, man.